Mr. Lee, welcome to Honor Cafe Hall of Heroes.
Thank you.
Here at the Hart Museum, of which you are
President of the board.
President of the board. So, how long have you lived in Huntsville?
22 years.
22 years. Where are you from?
Nacogdoches, Texas.
So you're a Texan.
Yes.
What year did you go into service?
1963.
1963. Tell me about that.
I met a Marine veteran when I was in the 7th grade. So I decided I wanted to be a Marine. And I turned 18 in March. So I skipped school and rode the bus from Nacogdoches to Houston to join the Marine Corps. And the recruiter wanted to know when I wanted to go in. And I told him anytime after I graduated. And he said, when do you graduate? And I said, May the 28th. May the 30th, I was in the United States Marine Corps boot camp in San Diego.
What did your family think about that?
They were quite surprised. We grew up on a cattle ranch, and I always thought I'd probably just be a cowboy, but I decided to go in the Marines.
And that was just because that individual you knew?
Yes.
And that was it. That was all you knew about the Marine Corps.
That was all I knew.
So was there a little bit of shock about what the Marine Corps was really like?
Yes, very, very much.
What was basic training like back then?
It was 18 weeks and no off time. You were on the base with your platoon 24/7, and I learned a lot of new language and how to do a lot of new stuff.
So after you got done with your basic training, what was next?
Back then, we went to advanced infantry training at Camp Pendleton for 8 weeks. And then you had 20 days leave, and then you deployed to your first duty station.
And where was your first duty station?
Marine Combat Base in Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii.
Kaneohe Bay. I have been there.
Yeah.
Marines have the best real estate in Hawaii.
You bet.
Yeah. They really do. And best scenery, best beach. But there's a price to be paid for that because you guys do the hard work, right?
Right.
Yeah. So what happened after that?
It was a combat-ready base, fully employed base, fixed-wing helicopters, artillery, 3 infantry battalions. 1 stayed afloat year-round. And we were destined to come back to California to be the aggressors on a field problem. One morning, the company gunnery sergeant came in and said, anything you don't want to take to combat, send home. We all laughed and said, well, that's kind of going overboard to go back to California. And he said, we're not going to California, we're going to Vietnam. And we all said, where's that? Because this was in 1965. And we soon found out. We boarded ship, went to Okinawa for jungle training, boarded ship again, and made a beach landing in Chu Lai, Vietnam.
So another Marine Corps veteran up here, Ariola, he made a beach landing as well.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
It was the first major offensive battle in Vietnam. It was Operation Starlight. And John and I were on that operation.
So did you know him back then?
No.
No, you just...
He was a young captain, company commander, and I turned out to be a platoon sergeant real quick.
So what was that like? I mean, the beach landing obviously wasn't like World War II, but how fast did you see contact?
When we made the beach landing, typical military, Force Recon went in first. And there was no radio contact, so everybody thought they'd been killed. Well, we made the beach landing. It turned out they were sitting on the beach drinking coffee out of sea rations because their radios got wet. And there was nobody there, nothing.
Nothing.
And then we started pushing inland, and that's where we had our first contact.
How fast? How many days was that into pushing in?
About 15.
15 days. What was that like? As far as you were a Texas boy. The next thing you know, you're in a place you hadn't heard of.
It was scary, and the Marines had not been in combat since Korea, so nobody had any combat training. It was all just what we had learned, and seeing the first guys that got killed or wounded, it was quite an experience.
So you didn't have any guys from the Korean War with you, or
No.
So it was all.
Yeah, all new guys. It's typical in the military. Our platoon leaders were second lieutenants. They were probably 24 years old. Some of them had less time in the Marine Corps than I did, and I was the new guy.
Wow.
And there was a strong buildup of Viet Cong, and when we made the beach landing in July, they built an airstrip, and Seabees came in and built the airstrip. Well, we got intelligence that they were going to try to overrun the airstrip, and it was decided that they would be an operation to go out and destroy these people. And we were supposed to land in a triangle. Well, it turned out great intelligence. It was supposed to be on a straight line. We ended up landing on a triangle, and I was in Hotel Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines. We ended up being the point of the triangle, and it was a dug-in regiment, and they were shooting our helicopters before we could land. And first person off helicopter was a second lieutenant. Then my platoon sergeant, he stepped off the helicopter and was shot and killed, and the lieutenant turned around and said, "You're the new platoon sergeant." And I was 19 years old, didn't think I could take care of me, and all of a sudden I was in charge of a platoon of Marines.
Well, that'll grow you up quick.
Yes. And one of my best friends got killed on Starlight, and I rode him up on the back of a C ration box, and he received the Medal of Honor.
On the back of a C ration box.
Yeah.
Most people today, all they know is MREs, but back in the day, you had cardboard boxes that they're C rations.
Yeah.
Wow. So how long did that go on? How long did this operation continue?
About 30 days total. And it was bad enough that our battalion commander brought up flame tanks to use, because we were really, that first day, we were cut off from everybody. The platoon was split in half, and it was a lot of unknown.
Once that operation was over, did you guys go back to the ship, or did you set up a base camp?
We set up a base camp. It was battalion operation, and we set up a battalion base camp and then operated out of it.
So did you guys, did you go on patrol, or did you actually push in and try to get more real estate?
Both.
Both.
Yeah. We'd go out on patrols, anything from squad size to platoon size. And
what area of Vietnam was that? Where
I Corps. It was South Vietnam, south of Da Nang.
And how long had the Vietnam War been going on when you went in and did this?
The first Marines went in March of '63. But I found out that one of the guys in my platoon that got killed, his dad had been in Vietnam and got killed in 1958.
Really?
And he was in the Air Force. So we'd had Americans there as early as 1958.
That's incredible. So when you left, did you have any time before you deployed to Vietnam and to go back and spend with your family?
No. They came in and told us to send home what we wouldn't take to combat, and 4 days later we boarded ship.
That's a different time. Troop transport ships. That's no
Yes.
fun on.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's where actually
Yeah.
the Marines don't have the best real estate, I think. is on the
Correct.
ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, we had done beach landings off of ships in training, but it was usually with landing craft and amphibious tractors. Well, this particular exercise, we went over the side of the ship just like they did in World War II, and then boarded the landed craft to go into land.
Wow. So that was just like World War II.
Yes,
So how long were you there in Vietnam?
13 months.
13 months. And then, and so did your family, I mean, I know you were right in your family, but that must have been tough. I mean, they didn't know you were going to combat.
No, they had no idea. You know, my parents still lived in Nacogdoches, and they had never had anything to do with the military.
So when you got home, what was that like coming home?
In spite of everything that was read, we rotated back. There was one of my best friends. We rotated back, and he went home to Pennsylvania, but there were no protesters at the airport when we came back, and of course everybody at home was glad to see me.
Yeah. Do you have a girlfriend?
I did. Same lady that I've been married to for 57 years.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
story right in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you get married? When you first got back, or were you still in the Marines?
Yes. I called my dad and told him that I was back in country. And he said, "When are you coming home?" And I said, "We have to go through a lot of debriefing because of a special unit I'd gotten in Vietnam." And he said, "Well, do you think you'll be here week after next?" And I said, "Well, I think so." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, your wedding is Saturday night."
They had planned a wedding for you?
Yes.
That's
And I
great.
had no idea.
You had no idea you
No.
were getting married off.
No. And,
that's funny.
And I don't know how my wife did that, because nobody knew when you were rotating back then. I mean, it was all just luck of the draw.
Yeah.
They had not set up rotation or, any tours of duty. And so how she figured that out, I don't know.
When people today, they just have no concept of what it would have been like to have, no cell phones, no internet.
Right.
All you had was correspondence by letters, and then every once in a while you got a phone call.
Right.
And then that's hard.
Yeah, we never made phone calls.
Yeah, so it was just
Yeah.
letter correspondence. Yeah, that's something people can't imagine, because they want things right away.
Right.
Yeah, but I was looking at some Vietnam. They're not like really yearbooks, but there were books for the unit books, and I was looking at some of those, and some of the ones they had also from Korea and World War II. And what struck me about that lack of technology back then, we had typesetters and all the work it took into doing everything back
Correct.
then. It wasn't as
Yeah.
easy as it is today.
Just like the Operation Starlight. It was supposed to be Operation Starbright, and a clerk mistyped it, and it became Operation Starlight. And just things like that.
Yeah.
And as you know, the communication was terrible out in the field in the infantry. The company commander had a radio, and each platoon commander had a walkie-talkie, and they were usually good about the line of sight. If you got out of sight over a hill, you had no communication.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. And you're
Yeah.
trying to fight a war and
Right.
call in artillery, and that's hard. Actually, I can't imagine it.
Now, you could talk to the aircraft, but you couldn't talk to anybody else.
So, how long did you spend in the Marine Corps?
6 years.
6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And did they actually give you those sergeant stripes when they made you the sergeant?
No, I didn't get them till a couple of months later.
Yeah. So 6 years. Why did you get out? Because I know you love the Corps.
Yeah. At the time, my wife was about 9.5 months pregnant, and I got orders to Iwakuni, Japan as a chief investigator. And I had to make the decision of leaving my family or getting out of the Corps. And so I got out of the Corps.
Well, I think you probably made the right choice for your family.
Oh, I do, definitely.
Yeah, because there was a lot of things still going on over there.
Yeah. I would have gone back to Vietnam, which had nothing to do with me getting out. I just couldn't go off and leave my wife with our first son in California, and I'm going to Japan.
Yeah.
And
so you headed back here to Texas.
Right.
What'd you do after?
In the Marines, I'd gotten into the military police and CID. And after I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to work on Dallas Police Department.
How many years did you serve there?
6 years.
Well, that's something in itself back then. That was like the Wild West.
Right. But thanks to a young captain I had in the Marine Corps, I started college and got my degree, and then went to work for the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA.
Wow, how many years did you serve with that?
26 years.
26 years.
Yeah.
And retired, moved back to Huntsville.
Yes.
Yeah. Why Huntsville?
A friend of mine worked for the prison system, and they'd created a new position to be in charge of all the prison gangs. And he offered me the job. And so I took it and moved to Huntsville.
Huntsville's a great place, and one of the reasons it's great is this place where we're at right now. So as president of the Texas Veterans Museum, talk about Hart's Museum.
It's unbelievable. We moved in this building 16 years ago, and it was started by a lady named Charlotte Olenek. She had a store downtown on the square. Some World War II veterans convinced her to put some military stuff in one of the windows. And from that, it grew into this. And it's just unbelievable, everything that's happened. It started just as a museum. Now it's a total outreach program. We have VA here. We have DAV here. A lot of the veteran organizations. And it's just unbelievable.
And the stuff on the wall is memorabilia just donated from people throughout the community, throughout Texas.
Everything in the museum is real. It came from veterans or their families. Everything outside has been used in combat. The Huey Cobra and the 2 Hueys were in Vietnam. The tank was in Vietnam. So it's just unbelievable what all we've accomplished.
And you have enough to fill another building as well.
Totally. Everything upstairs is storage. 2 Connex boxes are full. The pavilion is full.
So what's the plans for expansion?
Right now we don't have anywhere to go. Approximately 2 years ago, a Army Lieutenant Colonel had the Vietnam Traveling Wall. And he would travel all over showing the wall that had been here. And he decided to retire it and build a new one out of lighter material. And he called and asked me if I wanted to buy the one he's retiring, and I immediately told him yes, because I've got about 30 friends on that wall.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he'd sell it to me for half price. And I said yes before I asked him how much. Well, he told me, and it was very expensive. But through donations in the city and the county, I managed to make it permanent out back of the museum. It's 80% replica. It's 380 feet long. And we managed to spend about $300,000 to make that happen. And that's one of the proudest things I've done.
So it looks like the only thing we do is build up. We need to build money to go vertical then.
Correct. And of course, it's all about funding, because we don't receive any funding from, city, county, state, federal, or anything. We're a 501c3, and we do benefits to raise money. And of course, we had drawn up plans to expand out back, but that's where we put the Vietnam Wall. So really the only thing that we could do, which I'm really working for, is try to get more land from the state so we can expand on the other side of the conference center.
Yeah, the horse pasture.
Right,
Out
yes.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this video gets out, and that's one of the reasons we do this, is to bring light on what's going on here, and it has become a destination location.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you said 100 people here from Houston
Yesterday
recently?
for a tour, and we do all kind of school tours. 3 years ago, we had 1,100 eighth graders come up. We do 50 in the morning, 50 in the afternoon. And that's the best part about the museum, is the education. And we have people stop here from all over the world.
You said you had some people from Australia here not too long ago.
Australia, we have people from China, Japan, Britain, England. It's just amazing. They see all the aircraft and vehicles, and they'll stop in the museum.
Now, one last question. Getting back to your military service, because obviously you're still serving.
Yes.
You're still serving the military, and in Vietnam. Is there anything that stands out? I know there was hard days, and probably some days you don't wish you could you wish you could probably forget. But as far as funny, stupid stuff that happens over there. When you're amongst your friends and everything's going on. I mean, what stands out? What are some of the stories that you think stand out when you're out talking to your buds? Or
Well, you just do different things, and as you're aware, depending on who it is, especially a company commander has a Jeep. Well, when we first got to Vietnam, we lived in tents and ate C rations. Well, in the military, you have K rations, which are better than C rations, but they had them in what they called a dump. Well, me and two Marines said we'd go down there and see if we could get some. And we knew the MP that was stationed there, and of course, he said, you go in there and get whatever you want. And we're leaving, and some other people showed up that knew we weren't supposed to be there. So we take off, and a buddy of mine's in the back of the Jeep. And we take off, and the other guy's hollering, BJ fell out. BJ fell out. And I try and look, and of course he's running to try to come get back in the Jeep. And you do all kind of different things. We were all 18, 19, 20 years old, and thought we were pretty much indestructible.
Yeah.
But they were good times, and I really have to say that you watch all the movies and everything's about you're fighting a war for family back home, the flag or whatever. All you were worried about was that guy next to you. And we all took care of ourselves.
Did you ever get to meet any of the family or friends you lost once you got back?
No.
No.
I never did, and I regret that. The platoon sergeant that got killed, I'd met his wife and son when we were stationed in Hawaii, but I never talked to them after I come back, and they live in Texas.
Yeah, I imagine that having a place like this with people coming in and out, though, it's not only rewarding, but for a lot of veterans, it's some closure too.
It is. It's, as you know, it's easy for us to talk about something. But when people say, well, what was it like to be in combat? Or what was it like to be in Vietnam? If you hadn't been there, I can't tell you what it was like. And we have guys come up here, they've never been to the Vietnam Wall, they wouldn't go, but they'll come up here, and I've got it lighted so it's available 24/7. And people come up here at night, they'll come in and talk to us, because everybody that works in the museum that does tours are veterans from every branch of the service. But that part's good. Guys will sit down and talk to us because we can relate to each other and we help each other.
Yeah. Well, Ken, thank you for being on RK Hall of Heroes, and thank you for everything you do up here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you coming up.
I know. I don't want to say that you keep Tara on your toes, her toes. She probably keeps you on her toes, but
she does. We are so lucky. We have two young ladies. One is Tara Burnett, that's the executive director, and Amanda, who is the assistant director. They keep this place going.
Yeah, they do. I have to admit that.
They really do.
Well, thanks again for all you do.
Thank you.